The time has finally come. We are putting in the best part of the engine. We're putting in the turbo.
It's turbo time.
So this is a Tomioka Racing Turbo. It's an 18G. It's rated for about 400 horsepower, but we are not doing 400 horsepower on this. The goal is 350, and that still might blow up this engine, but who cares? We're gonna do it. If it blows up, we'll make the engine even better. Doesn't matter. Finally got the turbo out. This thing was kind of a pain. This thing's actually in pretty good condition for being 20 years old. Zero shaft play, so probably get a couple bucks for this. So taking a look at both of these turbos, this one is the one that came out of the car. It's a TD04, and this is the new Tomioka one, the 18G 400 horsepower one, and there are some massive difference, such as here we have a billet wastegate. This one, not as good. Everything about it is just way bigger than the stock turbo. Bigger means more power. So the way that turbos work is it basically just forces more air into the engine, which creates more combustion, which creates more power. So putting in a bigger, better turbo is going to give you way more horsepower, a little bit more torque, and just overall be better, but also run the risk of blowing the engine up, which we're going to try and not blow up the engine with this in, but we'll see what happens. Make sure to use new copper washers when you're putting the oil lines back in. Just going to leave that loose for now because we need to get the turbo in and then we can swing that up. So on this turbo, there's an oil drain on the bottom. It's kind of a pain to slip on. I mean, you can do it, but you're gonna have a real hard time getting the clamp on, even though it is like, it comes with these, which you can just do by hand. I don't like those because obviously if you can do it by hand, it can come off very easily. So this is the pipe that was on there, on the old turbo, and this thing is rock hard. Like it's literally, you can't bend it at all. So I went ahead and bought a new one that is rubbery. It'll be easier to slip on. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it on the turbo first and then slide the turbo on and then get the other end on the bottom part where it connects to the engine. It's a lot, I wouldn't say a lot easier, but it is easier to get to the bottom portion of this because I would like to put another compression fitting on the bottom part as well. It's gonna be a little bit of a struggle. I'll show you with my phone under the car where exactly this part is. It is a pain to get to though. So first I'm gonna put this on here though. So we're gonna slide another one on there just so it's on there. And then when we get to the car, we can push it down. So if you can see right in front, there's a hose coming out of the engine block. My hose isn't on there yet, so I just need to wiggle it on and then we'll be solid. All right, so there's where the hose goes onto, and there's a compression fitting that I put on. I had someone help me guide the hose on, and then I used some special hose clamps, which I've used so many times to take these fittings off. I stuck it on, clamped it on, held it open, put the hose on, and then just clamped it in. It's a very tight space, but the tool fits perfectly in this little area. You kind of just got to wrestle with it a little bit, but it goes on. So now we're gonna put the up pipe onto the turbo, and don't forget to put your gasket on before you put the bolts on. I forgot to put these studs on. They go on the back of where the down pipe goes. Just do it the same as how the original one came. So basically the bottom 3 bolts. So I just tightened the bolts where the turbo meets the up pipe, and I actually went and bought new hardware. So these are nuts from Subaru. I went to Subaru, went to the parts department, got new nuts. I just don't like putting rusty bolts nuts back on. Although I wasn't able to get the top 2 bolts for there's like 2 bolts on the top where the down pipe meets the turbo that these sit on. I think I'm just gonna clean these up for now and then eventually probably swap them out. I did put some blue Loctite on the bolts going from the up pipe to the turbo. I'll do the same for all the other nuts and bolts as well. Just a little bit of blue Loctite. The studs on the back of the turbo that come with the turbo, I put some red Loctite on the threads that go into the back of it, just so they don't come undone. And then I'll put some blue thread locker when I put the nuts on, for a little more safety, since it does vibrate and can never be too safe. I torqued down the bolts to 25 foot-pounds for the turbo to the up pipe. So this top line right here is gonna go to my AOS. If you don't have an AOS, this tube will go straight to this overflow tank, and it's gonna go to the one that's pointed. Basically just where you left off doing it. So basically just take a photo of your stock one, and then the hoses are gonna go right in there. There's also a hose down here that's gonna go to the bottom of this turbo. It's really hard to see, but it looks exactly like this, but it's just coming up, that this silver wrapped hose down here just goes straight into. Which, if you didn't drain your coolant, will pour out. So I have mine capped off. I'm just gonna quickly take it out, shove it in there, and then it should be good. It is finally time to put everything back in this car. I've been waiting weeks for this tiny little gasket and a turbo inlet to come. With Christmas and New Year's Eve and all these holidays, it's just been super delayed, and it's been annoying. But yeah, we're gonna get everything back in the car, and then we're gonna throw the tune on it, and then we're gonna go for a test drive. I'm very excited. This thing's been sitting here for weeks just like this, and I just wanna get it done and drive it because I haven't driven it in a while. So let's jump in it. We're gonna throw the turbo inlet in first. That might be a little bit of a struggle, but we'll see. And then we'll get the manifold and everything else on. So I was fighting for my absolute life to get this turbo inlet on. I highly recommend taking the manifold off to get this inlet in. I mean, just taking the stock inlet off was a pain. I also finally got this on, and then I found out I needed to put like a little adapter piece on, which is rubber, so it just catches on everything. You kind of just have to figure out how to put it on yourself. I greased it up a little bit. I used some picks, but you kind of just have to force it and use all your might to get it on this turbo. Now you want to connect all the hoses to the turbo inlet, like the bypass valve. There's one for your boost controller. There's a couple for the AOS. If you just look at the instructions for the turbo inlet, it'll be super easy to just do it that way instead of me explaining where they all go. Now we're gonna be putting the intake manifold back on. There's a lot of things. You kind of just have to shimmy it around, kind of like the fuel lines. There's a bunch of hoses you need to go around, cords. You need to make sure all the hoses in the back where the throttle body is, make sure those are out from under it. You want to not forget to put your new gaskets in, whether you have the TGV to the manifold or the TGV to the block. Just make sure you have the right ones. It's easier to put it on before you put the manifold on. As you can see here, I forgot to put them on. So now we're gonna put in the fuel pump. I just wanted to crank this out real quick, but it's super easy. All you have to do is take out all of the back seats, which I think were held in by like 4 bolts, and then this like bar and this like, I don't know what it's, just plastic fabric pieces. Once you get that off, you'll see the fuel pump. You'll need to disconnect 2 or 3 hoses and a sensor or like some wiring to it. undo all of the bolts around it, pull the whole assembly out, and then what you're gonna do is bring it over to wherever you're gonna install the new pump. There's gonna be a lot of fuel everywhere, so just have a lot of rags around, and it's pretty straightforward. You just take out the old pump, put the new one in, use all the new like rubber bushings, put the new plug in, all that kind of stuff. It's a really, really easy job. And then you're just gonna go and throw it back into the car and do exactly the same way you did taking it out, but just in. All right, the fuel pump is done. Now, the scary part. We need to put the tune on and start it up. We're up. Running. I don't see any leaks. Everything's looking fine. I don't smell anything. No check engine lights. I think we're good. I did lose a lot of coolant, so we need to get that thing burped. And then we can take it for a little test drive. It needs to warm up for a little bit, and then we'll send it.